must say, I feel quite emotional. For me, the last 7 months since I started with this amazingly committed and talented team at Bioharvest, and together with Zaki and the board, and this inspiring group of people, it really has been one of the most wonderful experiences of my life, and probably from a professional career perspective, one of the most rewarding. Having this opportunity to lead this company at this unique juncture of the company's history, in this unique juncture that we find ourselves with a very, very challenging environment that we're operating in, and what all of us as global citizens have gone through in the last 12 months. I feel very, very privileged. And I feel very privileged to have investment partners. I don't like to call you investors. You are our partners. The level of commitment, the passion, the depth that people are going to really be part of this company, for me as a CEO, it's something I've never seen before. Something that really every single day energizes me as I engage with many of you on a regular basis. And today is going to be a really interesting presentation, and I'm trying to let you in under the hood as much as possible based on the CSC laws, because I really feel that you are part of the company, a critical part of the company. And we are all part of a movement of change in the industry that's really going to leave a foundational impact on the world to come. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. I hope you get a lot out of it. As I said, I've really tried to be very detailed in many areas, and we'll run our normal play. I'll speak for about 40 minutes, and then we'll do Q&A up until the hour. And if I need to go for another 5-10 minutes, I'm very happy to do that as well. So Justin, can you just flick it over to the presentation mode? Okay. So obviously we need to have the forward-looking statement to make sure that everybody understands the context that we're sharing this information. Okay, so today's journey, I'm going to cover in a lot more detail the major milestones and achievements of last year. I'm going to share with you the foundational capabilities that we are building, which are a significant source of our competitive advantage. And then I'm going to be very, very transparent and literally share with you the 2021 priorities, my key KPIs as CEO, which are literally my objectives, which are going to be cascading down through the organization as we start to align everybody from a performance management perspective. So hold on to your chairs and let's enjoy the ride. So firstly, when I step back in reflection, there were 6 major milestones and achievements that we had as a team. And I say that as a team, everybody, that's working as employees of the Bioharvest Sciences company, as well as all of our investor partners out there. And the first thing was our successful Israel D2C, direct-to-consumer launch of Vinia, where we're seeing continued momentum. Secondly, and I'm going to go into more detail on each of these, the manufacturing partnership that we struck with SUGART Israel for 20+ tons a year. It's going to be a state-of-the-art nutraceutical facility, and we're making amazing progress in this area. Again, I'll go deeper on this. The BATORY Foods partnership is rocking and rolling. We got our first big win with Designs for Health, and we're now really synced as 2 organizations working closely together with a very clear common vision a very good understanding of the product and of the market. And I'm really looking forward to going down that path with Vince Pineri and his team in 2021. From a cannabis perspective, you're going to see from us continued global thought leadership as the real pioneers from an R&D perspective in the space, which is going to provide the critical backbone to drive the commercialization of this vertical and unique source of competitive advantage. And then from an investor perspective, as I shared with you a little bit earlier, we have really step changed the growth of highly engaged investor base, which is a source of tremendous energy for myself and the team. And it's also been important for us to build a dream team of advisors to provide us the required critical know-how and extra firepower across key strategic areas. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes now going through in more detail these milestones and achievements, and then I'll move into the capabilities and the 2021 priorities. Okay? Great. All right, let's first talk a little bit more detail about the Israel results. The last time I shared with you the Israel results in a little bit more detail was in our, I think it was our November call. So we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper across some of the key metrics that we're looking at all the time. And you can see how the business evolves. And that's really what I'm trying to do today. I'm trying to really hold your hand and help and bring you on the inside and help you understand how our business is evolving. So December was a great month, as we shared in our release in early January. We delivered Little Israel, about 8 million people, delivered $134,000 in sales orders. Again, nice continued growth from November, and we continue to see good momentum in the business. When we look at our customer count is growing significantly. You know, literally, we were averaging roughly 70 customers a month before. As we started the launch and the launch kicked in, we're now, you can see November was 560 customers. December was close to 780 customers. So again, really good momentum as we start to drive, you know, broader penetration. Now, just to give you some perspective, and I think it's helpful to dimensionalize, we're not even scratching the surface, even as it relates to Little Israel, because we're putting through from an e-commerce perspective, roughly 10,000 consumers a week. And when you look at the size of the addressable market in Israel, roughly 2 million consumers, we've got way runway to actually work through. So there's significant continued opportunity for more momentum in the Israeli market as we take every single month bite chunks of the market and start to build a strong residual base in the business. The average revenue per transaction, you know, increased significantly versus our year-to-date August. November, we had $184. December, also very good, strong growth at $167. You'll see the $167, it dropped slightly because of the mix of packages that people were buying. As we started to see more new customers coming in, they were buying more of our 2-month and 4-month packages, whilst our hardcore loyal base continues to buy the 8-month and 12-month packages. So obviously, as the mix moves towards a lot more, and right now we're roughly about 76% of our customers coming in December were new customers, and these customers are opting in, obviously, for the first time to a 2-month or a 4-month package. So that's why we start to see the mix changing a little bit, but still, you know, when you think about it, an average transaction size of a dietary supplement of $167 US, this really is very strong foundational performance. And so then when we look at the basic economics of the cost of acquisition of a new customer, okay, so I've taken out all the existing customers that are repeat purchases for us. So when we look at the cost of acquisition for a new customer, obviously the cost per click in December is much higher given it's the end of the year and the everything that's going on at this time. So our cost per acquisition is $85. and the first time purchase value for a first time user was $159. But amazing economics when you think about it. It costs me $85 to bring in a new customer, and they come in and spend roughly $160. So pretty much we get into a profitable level from the first time that the customer comes into our Vinia franchise. So these are, again, very, very solid fundamentals for us to start to build the business and then drive the continuous improvement that we need. Just so you understand the mix, it's a very, very healthy package mix. And that reflects the new customers as well as our growing loyal base. I'm just going to flick a few charts forward here. It's a little bit easier. You can see we have roughly a quarter of our customer base in the month of December was buying more 8 months or more. That is significant. Again, it reflects the stickiness and the engagement of the consumer with Vinia once it's able to either solve one of their problems or their strong belief in its preventative power. And then when we look at the new customers coming in, you can see our ability to push customers to the 4 months, which is our desired strategy. We want to try and bring in as many customers as possible into the 4-month mark. We've achieved that with nearly more than 50% of the customers at the 4-month package. And then obviously some people, because of affordability and other reasons, are opting into the starter kit of 2 months. So when you step back and you reflect on this, it's a very, very healthy overall mix. And then when we look in the analytics of our customer base, I was really happy when I was preparing this presentation and going into the detail of our actual, the profile of our purchasers. In November, when I shared this with you, we saw a significant mix male-female. Now we see a much more balanced male-female mix, okay, which is makes a lot of sense. And then when we start to see, we are going to always be a lot heavier as far as our 55 plus. So you can see 56% of the mix is coming from 55 plus. But when we look at December 1 to our January 18, we start to see a nice growth coming from 45 to 54, 35 to 44, more around the preventative powers that Vinia brings to the consumer base versus the problem-solving powers, which is more around the 55 and above consumer base. So again, very, very healthy. We're getting that diversification that we want, because by having this diversification, my addressable market of 2 million out of 8 million actually starts to increase. And so this is the kind of behavior, healthy behavior we want to see. We're recruiting many new customers. Roughly 76% of December customer count were new customers. And we're not stopping anytime. We're keeping on pushing. And the good news when you look at it is we're starting to think really, really differently about the business. And at this juncture, I want to use this opportunity to share with you something very, very special, which is a real breakthrough from a dietary supplement consumer marketing industry perspective. And I want to introduce to you a very, very special new member of the Vinia family. Somebody that over the last few months I've got to know very well, who has an impeccable value system, is an amazing source of inspiration for every single Israeli, from literally, a 12-year-old all the way up to a 90-year-old who understands the legacy of Mordechai Spiegler. Mordechai, as he's affectionately called, is by no doubt Israel's most respected and loved football player. He has a legacy as being the highest actual goal scorer of the Israeli national team. He represented Israel in the only FIFA World Cup finals in 1970, where Israel the national team played in Mexico and scored a absolutely beauty of a goal, even by today's standards. He's a classic, absolute classic, played for Paris Saint-Germain. He holds the record at PSG for the fastest hat trick, even faster than good old Neymar. He is a very, very, very close friend of Pele. And he played with Pele in the early 70s in New York Cosmos. So we have a partner that's coming on board as part of our influencer marketing, who has a tremendous affinity with the Israeli consumer, who is our target. And we are looking forward to doing some amazing, amazing things with MORDECHA to bring Vinia to the people. And I'm going to share with you a short message now from MORDECHA.
Shalom. Hello to everybody. When Ilan first met me and he asked me if I want to join the Vinia family, I said, let me try and understand what it is. 8 weeks after, I came back and I said, yes, you still want me to the family? I am in. I tried the product. I enjoy it every morning. I feel fresh, concentrate, and ready for the day after. And don't forget, my age is 100. In my age, people wake up and they don't remember what was yesterday or before yesterday. I wake up with Vinia and I know already what I'm going to do tomorrow and after tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to see you because I feel now part of the family. What a family. Kadima Vinia.
Okay, so we're really looking forward to partnering with MORDECHA and bringing a level and quality of marketing to the Israeli public with Vinia very, very authentically integrated into everything that we're doing. And that's probably a good segue into the next chart, where right now, the area of the pyramid that we've been focusing on in the early stages is all in this paid digital media section. There's tremendous opportunities for us to continue the momentum in Israel as we move into other media, radio, print, TV, with very important partners like MORDECHA, as well as starting to layer on, now that we've got a large customer base, customer referral programs, local segment marketing programs for the unique segments that we have across the population, and then also going top down with professional targeting via doctors and nutritionists. And this is going to be part of the marketing strategy we're going to be deploying in 2021. And again, great learning ground for us going into the US. And I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later. Manufacturing, and I saw already as MORDECHA was giving us the message, I glazed on some of the questions, and I saw a few questions come up on the manufacturing side. Tremendous progress from Orihan and his team, working hand in hand together with Dr. Yochi Chagai and our team at Bioharvest. Considering the challenges that COVID is providing from a global supply chain perspective, we really have a pro in the likes of Orihan and his team in making sure that we are going to deliver this factory on time. Okay, and I have total confidence in that. Right now, I've kind of given some of the key milestones here from an overall timing perspective. All our building and internal materials are going to be completed by end of March. In fact, the containers literally about to hit Israel with a lot of the materials that we'll start to use to actually build the critical components that are required as far as the internal elements of the building as it relates to our overall manufacturing process. And then we will start to layer the critical infrastructure and systems. Those systems relate to your water systems and other critical systems that are required in our manufacturing process. This will be implemented by end of May. And then we were able to really start to move into the biological processes, to start to move into a test production phase, and then ensuring that we're able to commence final production runs in early Q3. Everything working very, very nicely and to plan. We have very, very good supply partners that are working with us, highly professional companies best in class in each of their respective areas. This is going to be a best in class GMP facility. We're going to be applying the likes of technology around robotics as well to optimize efficiency levels. And Ori and the team are really, really focused at doing what it takes to lift that 20-ton capacity target. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised where they land up in that area. I saw a question around, can you show us the inside of the factory? I'm really, really sorry. The picture we have at the bottom is very purposeful to show literally the perimeters of the factory. But obviously what goes in is a critical part of our secret sauce of what we have, which is so unique and a very important part of our sustainable competitive advantage. So that's where we are in manufacturing. B2B partnership, as I said earlier, with BATORY. We got the big win with Design for Health. And I can't emphasize how important that win was for us, because Design for Health are like, literally, they are the pinnacle of nutraceutical companies. They are the highest grade as it relates to scientific validation. And the fact that they saw the value in our company and our products and the partnership that we started to drive with them, it's a real validation of the power of our technology and the efficacy of our products. And it sends a very clear message to the industry of the gold standard of Bioharvest products. First of all, in the context of Vinia, but obviously they're also very keen on the pipeline of products that we have to follow. And we'll continue to, now that everybody's getting back to work, targeting top category leaders in the food and beverage and nutraceutical space. And, when you've got a lead time here of literally, I would say, anywhere between 6 to 9 months, this works perfectly with the phasing that we have with the new manufacturing facility coming on board Q3 to be able to meet the actual supply demands of those customers that we're going to be selectively bringing on board into the Vinia family. Okay, cannabis. Let's talk cannabis. I'm very purposeful on the words that I use when I wrote this chart. And you can see the headline here. It says very clearly, cannabis, global thought leadership, providing the backbone to drive commercialization of this vertical. What we are doing at Bioharvest is pioneering. We are at the forefront, literally leaning over the tips of a mountain as it relates to the work that the team are doing. We are writing the Bible, as they say, as it relates to understanding how to actually grow cannabis in liquid media. We, as I've stated in the MD&A, we remain confident in our ability to complete the development program and commercialize our cannabis products in the first half of 2022. The R&D journey that we have been experiencing has enabled us really to break some existing scientific barriers related to plant cells growth. And this is no mean feat as it relates to the complexity of the challenges that the team have overcome with a level of commitment and relentless pursuit for perfection in order to change the world by bringing a grade of cannabis to the market to drive human utility value that the world has never seen before. We have reached a deeper understanding of the cannabis trichomes who behave like the microfactories that produce cannabinoids, terpenes, and the flavonoids that will form a major foundation in our future, not just competitive advantage, but our future sustainable, not just sustainable competitive advantage, but in fact, our future inimitable sustainable competitive advantage. I cannot say anything more about it at this time. I would just say to you guys, watch this space, hold on to your seats. The work that the team is doing in this area it's just inspiring, and I'm looking forward to sharing a deeper understanding of this with all of you over the next few months. And as I look at my friend and partner, Justin, who's our head of investor relations, and also Dave, who's our VP of investor relations. This is an area that together we have partnered to really do something that I actually feel is like one of the biggest sources of energy and inspiration for me daily in my role. Justin and Dave and the team, also with help from Giselle, they've built a digital communication machine to connect us with our existing and new shareholders. It's very efficient. It's extremely personal. The personalization of this is so important, because we want people to invest in our business. We want people to invest in our business because they care about this world. They care about investing in a company that's going to create human utility value first. And as I say all the time, if we do that, we will create shareholder value. And so it becomes a very personal process. And he's done a great job in targeting the right people, in making sure that we have an efficient process which is personalized, driving proactive shareholder engagement with transparency. And transparency is always a value that we hold at the highest levels, because by having those transparent dialogues with our investor partners, we're also able to learn so much about the heartbeat of what's on the street and how people are thinking, which becomes a critical also enabler of ideas and thoughts for our end. So it's actually a very positive cycle. We've started a process now where every single Wednesday night, it's my favorite night of the week. My kids and my wife know now, like Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, literally there has to be a little bit of quiet in the house, no screaming and shouting, because there's coffee with Ilan. And I enjoy it so much. I sit down with between 5 and 8 investor partners, and we just talk about the business. It's informal, it's casual. I get to know people, and frankly, it's inspiring. Last week I met a shareholder, and we talked, and I asked the shareholder, what do you do, in your as an occupation? And he said to me, I'm a school teacher in the Bronx. And I was just blown away at how much knowledge he had about our business, and the questions and the quality of the questions and the thoughts and the ideas that were conveyed, and the commitment and the passion that I could see was equal to our passion for the business. And it just dawned on me also the responsibility of myself as a CEO, where people that are literally making a difference every single day to bring up our children are also seeing the opportunities to invest in our company to improve their future livelihood, as well as to make a difference in the world, be part of a movement that's going to make a difference in the world. So it's very personal, it's very effective, it's very much two-way. And this is something that Justin and I have agreed. We will do every single Wednesday night, unless there's a religious holiday on that Wednesday night, or there happens to be a new president coming in, changing of the guards like we had last night. So I let Justin have last night off. I wasn't happy about it. So this is working really well. And then also, obviously, we've got to be fact-based in what we're doing. We've got to make sure the resources that we're putting into the business in this area are being counted for the business. So we have weekly KPIs to grow meaningful investor connections around critical elements which we know are going to be driving the overall business. And, you know, I want to just stop for a second and talk about the highly engaged and committed investor base that we have. It's inspiring. You know, we have people like Brennan Jones, who understands the business, frankly, better than any analyst out there. Literally, soon I'm going to be coming to Brennan to ask him advice on the business, given his understanding of the business. I encourage you to go out with the work that Brennan's doing, with the work that Luke's doing in this area around Let's Talk Cannabis. He's more cannabis focused. And also Alex and what he's doing with his community. And these are I would call messianic believers in the company that are also, you know, outreaching to many people out there to help them understand the intentions that we have and the purpose to change the world, and to come on board and be part of the movement, to be actually part of this change. And so thank you to you guys for everything that you're doing. It's very much appreciated. And you can see 27,000 YouTube views we've had since our last growth updates. That includes a lot of the great videos that these guys are producing on a regular basis on their own, as well as the work that myself and Justin are doing from a broader outreach perspective. Last week, we had 2,000 weekly visitors to our site. We had, you know, roughly one of the other KPIs we're tracking is the number of new weekly subscribers. And you can see it impacting on the critical KPIs of the business around obviously volume and other elements like the share value. Okay, so I know I'm going a little bit long, and I hope you guys are okay with me doing it, because I feel like this is important meeting for us to kind of all get grounded of what we've done, and then I'm going to obviously talk more about the focus and priorities moving forward. So I'm happy, Justin, I'll extend it for, you know, as long as people are okay, and hopefully you're getting a lot out of this. So I'm happy to extend a little bit past, quite a lot, like, you know, quarter or 20 past the hour. Okay, let's talk about the dream team. Look, we have a dream team of employees. As I said, you know, if you had a camera inside the walls of Bioharvest, you would be mesmerized by the commitment, the passion, and the brain power that is within our four walls. But obviously, you know, we needed to bring in some additional firepower in certain parts of the business. And we've done that now, because these are areas that I wanted to, together with Dr. Yochi and Zaki, really accelerate, because they were critical enablers of growth for the business. And the first area is our scientific advisory board. Dr. David Brady, you know, he came on board with us in late November. Dr. David Brady, he has a experience in integrative and nutritional medicine, which is second to none. He has over 25 years in health academia. He's a licensed naturopathic medical physician as well. So he's got the two worlds that come together. And together with Dr. Dennis Goodman. And actually, these guys know each other very well. They're colleagues, professional colleagues. So it's great to see the camaraderie as well between them. But together with Dr. Dennis Goodman, who brings over 40 years of relevant medical experience, stemming across multiple disciplines, including preventative cardiology. Dr. Goodman, actually Professor Goodman, serves as a clinical professor of medicine at the New York School of Medicine. He's professor of medicine at the University of Cape Town, director of integrative medicine and preventive cardiology at the New York School of Medicine. He's overseen more than 50 clinical trials. He has himself been heavily involved in the nutraceutical industry, understands the dynamics of the industry. And together, they will form the core of our scientific advisory board, which is so important for us as we start to build the clinical roadmap for our new products, and as well as additional clinicals in Vinia, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. And then again, our advisory board with Advocate Roberta Chait, international lawyer, international deal maker, who has strong experience for us in really building the bridges and building the critical relationships for us, which are obviously going to be very important as we start to expand globally. Eitan Popper, I think many of you will know Eitan because he really is a legend in the cannabis industry. He was the previous president of MedRelief Corp, which many of you will know was acquired in 2018 for $2.5 billion. And he's actually considered one of the leading experts in the cannabis industry. And again, having Eitan actually head of the advisory board is a real, and an investor in the company, is a real testament for his confidence in our technology and where we're taking the cannabis vertical. And then Dr. Rona Applebaum, who has a significant experience in scientific affairs and regulation and environmental affairs. And she's playing a very, very important role in helping us accelerate our regulatory process together with our VP of Regulation, Michal, and as well as in the area of environmental affairs and sustainability, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in our 2021 priorities. So we have the team, we have the people, the chemistry is great. Everybody's focused on one purpose, and that's all around leveraging the power of our technology to build health and wellness products anchored in science to drive human utility value. So let's stop now and just pause and understand what foundational capabilities have we started to really build across the company. As you've seen, when you step back and you look at what we've done in the last seven months, you'll see that we're starting to build a commercial machine that's enabling best-in-class marketing and sales of our wellness products backed by science. And this is going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to have to be big, bold, and breakthrough in what we bring into the industry to really disrupt the consumer. And you'll see more about this a little bit in some of the information I'm going to share with you as far as our US launch. We're building a world-class, low cost, given our unique cost of capital, low cost of capital, scalable and vertically integrated manufacturing model, which is atypical of the biotech and cannabis industries because of a low cost of production. This is great. When your costs are low and you can sell high, this is when we really start to create the shareholder value that all of you are looking for. And then obviously science is such an important part of our business. We are developing the wellness products underpinned by leading edge R&D technology and validated by foundational science. Okay, team, the business right now has great momentum. Momentum is something that you have to cherish. You have to hold on to it. It's precious. We have to be humbled by it. And this is something that you cannot be complacent with. And this is our view of how we should be dealing with this gift that we have right now, which is starting to gain more and more speed and momentum. And we have to be very, very careful to make sure that we're moving it in the right directions so that it continues to grow faster and faster. And the momentum is driven by some critical trends that we're dealing with. You're seeing right now that we as a company, we're at the eye of the storm of key trends that are making a fundamental impact on how the world and consumers are behaving every day. And we're seeing the intersection coming together of biotech. Biotech companies are starting to forge through barriers like never before and able to provide value to industry and consumers, and therefore being embraced more and more. Food tech is becoming an answer to so many fundamental problems that we as a human race are facing on a global level today. Consumers, as a result of what we've all dealt with in the last 12 months, have health and wellness at the forefront of their minds every single day, from the time they get out of bed to the time they go to sleep. And now so more than ever, specifically given what transpired yesterday, sustainability is becoming such an anchor value that people cannot give lip service to, that has to be ingrained in the DNA of what we do at home, at an industry level. It has to be authentic. And we as a company are at the eye of the storm of these critical tailwinds, which is helping to drive that momentum. And it's exciting because we are perfectly positioned to be the biotech leaders of the plant kingdom, anchored on the unique biofarming technology that we have and the values that we have, because we have the unique ability to unlock nature's true potential and deliver wellness-driven products with unparalleled sustainability advantage. BlackRock, a $3 trillion fund, is not investing in companies that do not have an authentic sustainability mindset with clear frameworks to continue to ensure that we are leaving the world a better place for our children and grandchildren. And we have a unique opportunity to demonstrate leadership in this area. So let's talk about our 2021 priorities. First of all, we will deliver a disruptive direct-to-consumer launch in the US. We will continue to partner with BATORY to go after objective 5 major deals in this area. Honestly, we don't want to pick up bits and pieces. We want to build 5 long-term partnerships like we have with Designs for Health, with industry champions that are committed to the same values that we have as a company. We will complete the full scale-up of our cannabis technology to enable market entry in the first half of 2022. We will accelerate regulation rollout for Vinia and our SUPERFRUIT pipeline across the globe. And we will continue to develop and execute scientific validation roadmap to drive further differentiation across our entire portfolio. And then, importantly, we will implement a sustainability framework. We will benchmark ourselves versus competition. We will ensure that we have third-party authentic validation of our sustainability advantages. So let's talk about each of these priorities. Firstly, delivering disruptive direct-to-consumer launch in USA via e-commerce strategy. US heart health market is roughly $3.7 billion. Huge opportunity for us. As we go into the market, and we will start in April. In the month of April, we want to sell our first bottle of Vinia. We will lead the narrative. We will redefine the way consumers view the category. We will ensure that we provide to consumers a clear point of difference and reason to buy Vinia. And our approach is going to be very measured to ensure that we are spending resources in the right way. We will start with a test and learn in a defined geographic area of the country. We will optimize all of our marketing. We will validate success. And once we've validated success, we will scale quickly. This is very, very important process for us to go through. Vinia is going to lead the narrative. We are uniquely different to all the other brands out there that contain resveratrol. The rest of the world uses polygonum, Japanese knotweed. It's just an inferior type of resveratrol versus our pie seed resveratrol from red grape cells. I've talked a lot about this before in other meetings, and in the next meeting we have, I will go much deeper in how we're going to do this, because obviously we know competitors are looking at us, and we want to make sure that we leave the big ammunition for right up until when we are about to launch in the marketplace. But fundamentally, there are 3 questions that you all, if you're buying dietary supplements, and the whole consumer base of America, which is 80% of households who have penetration of dietary supplements in a $40 billion business just in the US of A. And we need to make sure that consumers are asking the right questions. 1, is my supplement soluble? This is so critical because the nutrients required by our bodies must be able to be dissolved into the gastrointestinal tract. If not, and a large proportion of the dietary supplements out there are not soluble, and therefore you're consuming it through orally and it's just going out the other end of your body. Very, very important. The second question is my supplement bioavailable? This refers to the proportion of an ingredient that is absorbed into the blood plasma. And it's so critical because it drives the efficacy. We know that in each of these 2 areas, Vinia has unique competitive advantage. And then lastly, it's all about efficacy. Now, if you don't have solubility, you're not going to have bioavailability, and you're sure as hell not going to have efficacy. Does it deliver? Are there actual structure function claims based on the science of the company? And by the way, are there clinical trials to support this? We will be leading the narrative within this framework, sharing with consumers our competitive advantage in each of these key areas where we have best-in-class credentials. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about efficacy, because efficacy at the end of the day is the most important element, because consumers are looking for you to solve a problem. For us, as you're aware, we've done multiple clinical trials, all published in peer-reviewed journals. And the fundamental mechanism of action of Vinia is our unique ability to act as a vasodilator, increasing the elasticity of the arteries and veins, allowing more blood flow and more oxygen. And when we go into the physiology, we see that Vinia increases the eNOS, the nitrate oxide, which drives the blood vessel dilation. And we reduce the ET1, which drives the blood vessel constriction. So you get like a double power driving this elasticity of the artery. And because of this and all the scientific research in the space, we are allowed to make the following structure function claims according to FDA guidelines in the US. Vinia supports a healthy heart. Vinia increases elasticity of arteries and blood vessels. Vinia supports healthy arteries. Vinia supports blood circulation. Vinia supports blood pressure already within normal range. Vinia fuels antioxidant activity within your veins and arteries. This is great for us in the heart health space, providing us unique competitive advantage. But we've worked really, really hard in the last few months, and we're now able to make a new claim. And this claim opens up a much bigger market for us in addition to the heart health market. It takes us into the energy market. And we're able to make a claim which says that Vinia improves physical energy and mental alertness via the delivery of increased blood flow and oxygen. Remember the mechanism of action I showed you before. Delivering increased blood flow and oxygen to the body's tissues and organs. This opens up a significant space for us. So when you look at the addressable market, it actually increases it by a further 80%. So we increase the size of the prize probably from the 3.7 billion, I should say, of heart health, another 80% getting you roughly to a 6 billion addressable market, and gives us a much more variety of communication elements to focus on with our consumer base. And that's a really exciting part of our launch, D2C in the US, with this broadened addressable market. I talked about test and learn, validate success, and then scale nationwide. We will start in a defined geographic area. Right now, it's looking like we're going to go to like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. Obviously, states like Florida have a high proportion of the population target that we know is a primary target audience base for us. Georgia itself is also a very diverse demographics, which will also be helpful for us to understand how to do different segmented execution. And by proving out the model in the South, we will then start to scale up, going into the Northeast, and then starting to move westwards as we start to scale nationwide once we've proven out the model. Very measured, very measured. Everything is driven by measurement. It's e-commerce. We're able to measure the effectiveness of every one of your dollars that is coming into our company, and we are spending on marketing, on driving leads, on driving conversion, on driving retention. We have all the tools to make sure that we're making fact-based decisions all the time. And that's going to be critical as we optimize and become more and more efficient in how we spend. I've talked a lot about BATORY. Let's talk a little bit more about cannabis. We will drive a complete scale-up of our cannabis technology to drive market entry in the first half of 2022. We will have manufacturing scale with our conversion of our current facility of Vinia into a cannabis facility. We are now in the market in Massachusetts looking for the right area to start driving a development and commercialization license. So watch that spot. We are at the juncture in our development where we will start to engage in the right dialogues with pharma companies, with medicinal supplying companies, so that we can ensure that we build the right strategic alignments and partnerships that are going to make sense for the business. And then lastly, we've seen the success of D2C, and we will be building out our own D2C approach as well in the cannabis space, obviously specifically when it's hemp-based CBD, to go D2C, so we're able to also leverage the power of the infrastructure we're building from a D2C perspective. More to come shortly in the space on cannabis. I talked before about accelerating regulation rollout for Vinia and our SUPERFRUIT pipeline. US launch in April. The team are working now on regulatory approvals in Canada and Europe, Greater Europe, with a focus on some key markets that we'll start to focus on first, but our regulation is across all of Europe. And then in 2023, getting ready for Japan and Australia. You can see on the left-hand side with this, we cover 65% of the world. It's all about being focused. The Scientific Advisory Board, we will develop and execute scientific validation roadmap to drive further differentiation. There are more clinicals that we want to do on Vinia. Every single week, I get anywhere from 2 to 5 inspiring stories from customers on how Vinia is changing their life. When you start to connect the dots, we start to see that Vinia has the ability to create value in many areas outside of just the cardiovascular heart health space. So we want to spend resources in the next 12 months working with our new Scientific Advisory Board to pursue some clinicals in some specific areas. More to come in that space. Similarly for Olivia, our olive cell product and our pomegranate cell-based product, olive cell specifically focusing on the cholesterol space, and pomegranate on the anti-inflammatory space. We want to continue to drive clinicals. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, a new part of the family in the context of cannabis. And similarly, we will be exploring the appropriate clinical trial areas in this space. Looks pretty good as a portfolio, huh? Okay, something I'm very, very passionate about, if you haven't already realized. I want to leave the world to my grandchildren in a much better place than what it is today. I see that as a significant responsibility. We will be working closely with Dr. Applebaum, who will be leading this with the team in implementing sustainability framework, benchmarking versus industry, and driving third-party validation. We will be developing ESG, environmental, social, and governance reporting across the business. For me, it's a cost of entry. It's a cost of entry as far as my contract to you as investors. It's a cost of entry as far as my contract to government and stakeholders, other important stakeholders in that context. And it's a cost of entry in the context of customers and, importantly, the consumer, who cares about this more than ever. We will identify a sustainability framework and reporting methodology. We'll be benchmarking our performance versus industry and peers, focusing on key areas like carbon footprint, land, water, energy usage, social governance. We're going to define and publish clear KPIs as part of a 3 and 5 year plan, so that we have, you know, the heat of the seat underneath us to make sure we deliver on these specific targets of improving already what is a extremely good sustainability performing company. But we need to have third-party validation endorsement. It's not just good enough hearing it from me. We need to have authentic third-party validation endorsement demonstrating why Bioharvest Sciences and our bioharvest and our biofarming technology is so game-changing from a sustainability perspective as it relates to land usage, carbon footprint, water, energy usage. And then we need to be initiating the effective communication with stakeholders in the space. So watch the space. There's going to be a lot more happening here over the next 4 months. And what you're going to see me now in the next, you know, all my updates, these 6 priorities is all you're going to hear me talking about. How we're performing against these priorities. And as my partners, my contract to you, us as a company, our contract to you is to show you the progress that we're making across each of these 6 priorities. It's amazing feeling to be part of this momentum. And I hope that all of you out there and people that are going to be watching this who can't be with us live now, who are going to be watching this when it gets sent to you, or people on YouTube watching this, I hope you feel as excited as we are about being part of this momentum, about making a difference to this world. We're lucky. It's a gift from God that we're sitting at the eye of the storm with all these trends happening around us. But it's our responsibility to be able to embrace the technology that we have to make a fundamental impact to the world. And that's a responsibility that we wear very, very heavily. And it's up to us to continue to seize every opportunity to hold the momentum in our hand, because it's so, so precious. And if every single day we come to work, or you as investment partners, you talk about the company, you share feedback to us via Justin, via Coffee with Ilan, via engagements like today. If every single day all we're thinking about is how we drive human utility value, we will unearth significant shareholder value. And this is the purpose of our existence. Now, I want to address something we've got announced today, which I'm really excited about. We have this unique opportunity with this momentum to bring in 6 million Canadian dollars at favorable terms. You know, the fact that we're raising at 40 cents today, where 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we were sitting at 15 cents is a testament to the commitment and belief that people have in the company. It's crazy. We are already heavily subscribed, and it demonstrates the underlying confidence in the purpose of the company, in the management team, and in our technology. I want to be very, very transparent. We are heavily subscribed, but if there are people that are interested, you can reach out to Justin at justin@bioharvest.com. Obviously, it's for qualified investors. There is a 4-month lockup. We will look to see if there's an opportunity for you. I don't want to overpromise, but if we can find some space for those of you who are part of our investor partners of the company, we will look to try and do that. This will ensure that the company is well financed to maximize shareholder return. It gives us the critical oxygen to what I call lean in and scale aggressively once we optimize our e-commerce model in the US. It allows us to accelerate the regulation process to scale quicker outside of the US. Probably can move quicker to Australia and Japan. And boy, I can't wait to get into the Japanese market because they really, really love detail and go into the detail to understand the power of the products that they consume. It gives us the oxygen to drive the clinical trials across Vinia and the new product pipeline that I touched on. And it makes sure that we can very quickly put in place with the level of diligence that it deserves, the sustainability framework that I talked about to drive our biotech leadership in the plant kingdom. Okay, so I've gone actually way over. I'm sorry, I apologize. I see that all of you are pretty much all here. I'm gonna stop now. Justin, we can go up until about 9:30, 10:30, I should say, for take like 20 minutes of questions. I really appreciate everyone. I hope it was good for you. I feel like, there's a lot of work that went into this presentation. This really becomes our purpose, our manifesto for the work we need to do in the next 12 months and get cascaded down to the rest of the organization. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk longer. And I hope it's been good for you. So now let's pause and maybe we'll go to questions.
Great job. Can I ask you, can I summarize a few? We have many questions. Please, everybody, submit your questions. Everyone will be answered. If there's not time today, and if it requires further detail, we'll get back to you over the next few days. Thank you so much. It's an amazing turnout today. Ilan, the first question I get asked lots and is up and down this. As a shareholder, is there any type of soft launch or how can shareholders access Vinia? What should they do if they're interested?
So right now, if you're interested right now, you can't wait for April. You should reach out to info@vinia.com. Give us your details. We'll get our customer success team to reach out to you, and we'll find a way to get you Vinia. Okay?
Yeah, perfect. A lot of questions about marketing. Can you give a sense of the scale and the budgets and the timing of when people in the US are going to start to see Vinia marketing in 2021?
So my clear conviction is that wherever you are in the US in 2021, you will see Vinia. But what we're going to do is we're going to do it smart, and this is how it works. From a consumer goods perspective, if you're being diligent and you're very fact-based and you're trying to be very, very efficient in what you do. As I said, it's a staged rollout. We will start in the Southeast. So I saw a quick question, why not national? Well, frankly, when it comes to shipping product distribution centers, I want to be very, very focused. We can also segment all our e-commerce market to a specific geographic area. I don't want to be shipping product all around the country and dealing with this the whole distribution piece on a national basis until we start to move national. We want to test and learn our communication, test and learn the funnels. As people, we're doing work where we look at people coming into the funnel, coming onto the site, and we're looking at conversion, what drives conversion, and how do we optimize. And this is something that, you know, you can do it very, very quickly. We did it in Israel. In Israel, in the month of November, you know, we spent pretty much half of what we were spent. You know, I say October, we started to spend a little bit, and then as we saw, we got confidence. We were able to optimize, increase conversion, and then we started to spend more, and then we started to spend more. So it just makes perfect sense. We are dealing with we have got plans from a supply chain perspective to deal with East Coast and West Coast, but we're just going to get it right quickly, 2-3 months. That's what I believe it will take for us in the Southeast, in the Southeast. So think April, May, June, and then we start to scale. And this is the right way to do things. But by the end of the year, if you're on the, you know, in the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, you know, you will be able to buy Vinia. No issues around that.
Excellent. Question: when do you expect to reach overall profitability?
So we had shared with the markets in previous communications that we wanted to be at a break-even point by 2022. I still feel really good about it. Actually, I feel great about it. You saw that we took up our numbers for Israel in January, in line with the December results, which was quite a significant increase. We actually doubled our numbers for Israel. I think you'll start to see that once we go into test and learn, and we start to see success in the US, and then we say, okay, we know what we can get from a population of 30 million in the Southeast. Okay. We have all the numbers here. Okay, bingo, let's go now, let's scale. And then we'll be in a position then to reassess our numbers for 2021, as well as for obviously 2022, with 2021 being an important base. So again, it's very methodical, it's very well measured, yeah, so hopefully that gives good context to that question.
Yeah, thank you. Quite a few questions about production capabilities to support the go-to-market. Can you give people a sense of, you know, your current production, how many bottles could currently be produced, and what the 20-ton facility is going to mean relative to present state?
Wow. Okay. So basically, the best perspective to think about it is that 1 kilo can produce roughly 60 capsule bottles. Okay, so when you think about it, you know, from a 20-ton facility, you've got 20,000 kilos times 83. So you've got, you know, 1.7 million bottles of Vinia. Okay, each bottle is 2 months. Okay, so you actually, you know, you think about that, that's a lot of Vinia. And I think, you know, that will be more than enough for us in 2021. I also believe, and you saw me hint to it, and it's a bit of a challenge to Orihan and the team, we feel quietly confident we're going to get more than 20 tons out of the facility. Whether it's going to be 30 tons or it's going to be 25 tons, you know, time will tell us that. But we've done things really smartly. So I think there's upside on that number. I like to always, you know, under promise and over deliver, and that's what we're trying to do as far as that metric is concerned.
Great, thank you. I think just one comment: we have a very global audience, and just assure people that what are you looking at to make sure that Bioharvest stock is as easy as possible for U.S. and global investors to access?
Yeah, so we get a lot of feedback around that, and I understand some of the frustrations given that we're on the CEC right now, and it's obviously still in that, you know, penny stock status, albeit we're starting to move up from that. Look, this is something that we're looking at a board level. There's a few fundamental things that we can do to make it easier for investors. And we're busy reviewing that now, because obviously as the movement of change starts to grow, we're getting more and more people asking for help in that area, and therefore, you know, it's beholden on us to try and take action and to find better ways of access to that. So there's a number of strategies that we have to deal with that. And you'll start to see some things from us in the next few months, which will definitely, I think, help make that access a lot easier.
Yeah, we are listening to investors on this one. Want to reassure people.
Yeah.
One other, kind of larger one, people asking about going from research and development to market. When you're looking at other products, what does that what that timeline might look like?
So, we're very fortunate in the case of our superfruit nutraceutical pipeline, because Dr. Chagai and the team have already done the validation behind the olive cells and pomegranate cells. So a lot of it is just about focus. As an organization, you need to focus, you need to build the infrastructure. Vinia for us is let's call it, it's the big brother with big muscles that's going to path the way to build the capabilities that we need and the piping, let's call it, in order to bring it to market. Once we do that, it's very quick for us to bring our olive cell-based product, pomegranate cell-based product, and there's a few other things in the pipeline that we're working on. And then obviously cannabis, guys, cannabis, we're writing in Hebrew, we say writing the Torah. It's like writing the Bible, because we're pioneering the space. It's taken a long time, but we're at that point whereby we're getting real close to making it happen and bringing it to market. But this is the one that's obviously more challenging. It's more complex, and as you probably all know, we are the leaders in the world in this area as far as growing trichomes in liquid media. But it's much more complicated, which is great. Good luck to everybody else.
A few more questions. I'll combine several here. Vinia is priced at the high end of the resveratrol market. Maybe speak to positioning against competition for Vinia specifically.
So our pricing positioning in the marketplace, I actually think will be, let's call it, if you have 0 to 100, we'll be at that 80 level. But at that 80 level, with our credentials, as it relates to solubility, as it relates to bioavailability, as it relates to efficacy, as it relates to a direct-to-consumer engagement model, with the marketing that we're going to have, with the affinity that we're going to build with our consumer base, our expectation is that the consumer response is going to be, wow, this is value for money. This is real value for money. And that's where we need to be positioned, because we're going to totally change the dialogue, lead the narrative, change the dialogue in the resveratrol space, where consumers are going to realize, wow, I need to upgrade my resveratrol. It's a very simple decision, very simple cognitive decision. I need to switch. I need to upgrade my resveratrol. And we have all the credentials to be in that value for money space. And I think that's the right space to sit. There are players there that are more expensive than us. And frankly, good luck to them. I don't want to get into a dialogue on how I feel about some of the things that players are doing in the industry. But good luck to them. You don't build consumer franchises by engaging in those kind of strategies. That's not my belief. We have to be anchored in a value for money positioning, because ultimately we're all about driving human utility value. So there has to be a level of value for money, and obviously where possible in the future. And I don't want to speak too much in this area, but there will be other opportunities that I'll be talking about in the future around how we can bring more affordable ways for consumers to enter into the Vinia franchise whilst protecting our margins. More to come in that space.
Yeah, good. And then related, for competition, how do you see our output competing in the cannabis space?
Our output?
Yeah, so our products in the cannabis space, because it's a different type of...
Well, look, I can't wait. I'm waiting with bated breath, because we're gonna disrupt the space. We're gonna change the dynamics of how people start to choose cannabis. We're gonna set ourselves very far from the rest. And that's going to be all based on, you've heard me talk about things like, critical elements of our competitive advantage around fingerprint consistency. Because of our biofarming technology and its application to cannabis, we have fingerprint consistency. This is so, so important. When you look at the pictures that I used when I showed human utility value, when I was building the presentation, I probably spent a couple of hours trying to find the right pictures. And there's one picture there which shows a veteran hugging their either son or daughter. And that was a very, very important picture for me because, unfortunately, veterans are the biggest users of medicinal cannabis for post-traumatic stress disorder. And, you can have 1 week where you're operating within the ecosystem around you very effectively. You go to the pharmacy to get your medicinal subscription of cannabis the next week. You ask for the same thing. It's a disaster of a week because it's never consistent. So fingerprint consistency is so, so important in this space. Cleanliness is so, so important in this space. The ability to have the whole complex of cannabinoids, flavonoids, and terpenes all working together to drive that systematic effect is so, so important. So these are critical elements that are going to set us apart. Our capital, from an investor perspective, investor partner perspective, our cost of production is going to set us apart from an industry perspective versus competition. And then we've talked all about sustainability as well. And then there are a few other elements that we will start to talk about over the next 6 months as we start to bring more knowledge about the work that the team are doing to the marketplace that you'll see will start to differentiate and set us apart even further.
Okay, good question. Let's just maybe do 2 more questions. I really appreciate people spending so much time. I guess several questions about patents and IP.
Yeah. So I got to really take my hat off to Dr. Yochi Chagai, our CTO, and I'm looking forward to having Yochi in some meetings, and probably we'll do it in a few of the Coffee with Ilan meetings. She's one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. Literally, she's the mother of the biofarming technology, and she's as smart as you get. Writing patents, you have to be very astute because you have to be thinking from a competitor perspective. So we write the patents to give us the protection that we need from a legal perspective by giving enough information in the process, because they're all process patents, in order to get the actual protection across the critical legal jurisdictions, geographical jurisdictions. And they're very broad in our patents. And anybody can go, I believe, in a lot of people, I've seen investors actually going and searching some of our patents, which is great. It's great that you guys are doing that due diligence. Now, what's really important is the know-how. And we ain't going to put that know-how in a patent because we never want anybody out there to know what we know. And in fact, one of the key projects that we're working on internally in the company is all about knowledge management, because obviously that know-how is gold, and so we have to we have to protect it from a knowledge management perspective in a very, very professional way. So I feel very good at night going to sleep that what we have is kind of locked up like the crown jewels are in the London Bridge, but even more so from a protection perspective, based on the fact that, the patents protect us. And then there's know-how that, obviously we're very, 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 very protective over. And it's very complex, the know-how. And as I've said before, good luck to another company you can take. And I say this with no arrogance, but just I know how complicated it is because I have the privilege. You have to have police clearance to go into the cannabis labs here in Israel. So, every few weeks I'm in there with the team seeing progress. And I see how tough it is and how difficult it is and the sheer audacity that they have displayed in cracking some of the most complex problems. And I'm like, they've climbed Mount Everest to solve these problems. And I'm like, good luck to anybody else who wants to try and do it. It's just the sheer audacity and tenacity of these people that are just so committed to change the world. So yeah, know-how is really important. We have tremendous know-how, and we also have all the patents. So the two of them is how you really, and the knowledge management strategy is how you protect the technology and the IP of the company.
Okay. And then want to go last question, combining a bunch. So Vinia can be considered food, and in that way falls under the FDA. When you make like functional benefit claims, like the increased alertness, is that something that the FDA takes part in?
Yeah. So what's good about Vinia is that, and by the way, in the US, polyginum, which is the other source of resveratrol, which we call it naked resveratrol because it doesn't have the glucoside compound, which is so unique, which we have in our pie-seed resveratrol, is not allowed in food. Okay? And that tells you something about it. Vinia is allowed in food. It's a food ingredient, it's a dietary ingredient, and a dietary supplement. So, and then obviously we go through a process as far as all of our claims are concerned. There's a very extensive process you go through from an overall application perspective, and we, like all other companies, follow those processes.
Okay, let's do one more question.
Sure.
Because this will be asked many times this week. You talk about 2022 for a cannabis product being in market.
Yeah.
Are there any milestones or public goals for cannabis in 2021 that people might hear about?
You as our investment, I'll answer you this way. It's a nice way to end tonight. You will be hearing more from us in this space. The cannabis communication, in the next 6 months, you will start to understand our cannabis firepower and our cannabis learning curve and our cannabis momentum more. So watch out for that space, and that'll help answer your questions over the next few months.
Great, thank you. Before I put it back to you, just want to assure everybody, we will package this video. Everybody will receive a copy once we review it and make sure everything's fine. And thank you for me, an amazing turnout today. Ilan.
Yeah, look, thank you for everybody for having the patience to listen to me for an hour and a half. I really appreciate it. Your commitment to the company is very energizing. And it helps, when we're burning the hours like crazy, not just myself, the whole team, unbelievably committed team. It's very inspiring. It's like photosynthesis. We get the energy from our investment partners. We get the energy from our customers. When you hear great stories every single week of how, Vinia is helping. So thank you for that, and really appreciate it, and looking forward to an exciting 2021 as we hold that momentum carefully, respectfully, and continue to make the right business decisions to increase the speed of that momentum towards delivering our 2021 priorities. And I'd like to wish everybody a very, most importantly, healthy and happy 2021 to you and all your families. Thanks again. Good night.